Po' Boy Special here. It's time to head out to Scotty's Gunworks to answer your questions. So, let's get ready to roll. Alright, welcome to Scotty's Gunworks with our favorite gunsmith, Scotty. And this video is for you. Here's your questions, and before we get started, I'm going to put him on the spot. He doesn't know this is coming. Would you be willing to do a part 2 if we get more questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll just keep doing this.
All right.
As many questions as we can answer.
So if you didn't get your questions in on the last video in the comment section, do it this time and we'll make a part 2. How's that?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, the first question that we have is coming from Shane Gaming. I don't have it on my list, so he's going to read it and he's going to answer it for you.
Yeah, it basically asks, he has an old Colt revolver, you know, like a detective special, and he's having problems with the rebound spring sticking. In other words, you pull the trigger and the trigger won't go forward. Well, there's several ways you can approach it. You know, you might think, well, that thing needs a new rebound spring in it, you know, trigger return spring, however you want to word that. But in this case right here, that's not the problem, I don't believe. I got a little illustration set up with the gun here, and we'll show that, and I'll kind of explain that. I can show you better than I can, you know, basically tell you about it. So we'll just look at that and we'll walk through it.
And we're live.
Alright, here we are at the bench here. Here's a Colt Cobra. Basically the same thing as a detective special. And anyway, just make sure all your parts are pushed in there. This is how I like to test one. I pull the side plate off. And this one right here's got the good rebounds to it. You know, you pull the trigger. See how the trigger's back? And it just goes forward, no problem. Always push that back in there. No problem whatsoever. Now this one right here, you'd think off the top of your head, well, that thing needs a new rebound spring there, but in this case here, I just don't believe that's what the problem is. Just make sure everything's pushed in there real good, and you'll notice how it don't go all the way forward. And of course, the first thing you probably think is, well, that thing needs that new spring in it, but I don't think it is, because you can take your screwdriver and you can put pressure right there, and you see how this goes forward.
All right, can you do that again? I'm zooming in on it.
Yeah. We'll do it one more time here and give everybody a bird's eye look at it.
So I zoomed in on it real good.
See, it don't go in all up. You can take your screwdriver, just right here, and push it down. And you'd think, well, with that side plate on there, that should push it, you know, put enough pressure on it, but it doesn't. So what I'm going to have to do, I don't think it's that spring right there, and there's the spring it's talking about. It presses down on this right here. I think what we've got is we've got probably a groove worked in there somewhere, and I'm going to basically have to take it apart and find out where that little groove is and maybe smooth it out. May even have to change a part down inside there. So it's really hard to answer that question. Most likely, in this case here, it's not that spring. We'll do it again. You can see what I'm talking about. Only goes so far. So we put pressure right here.
Alright, let me get into that where I can see that.
Put the pressure right here and just push. And so that tells me right there that it's most likely not that spring. So that's really the best way to answer that question. I hadn't really got around to diagnosing it by taking it all apart and looking down inside there, but kind of wanted to make that point that you know, a lot of times you'll think in your head, well, that's that spring doing that, but in this case here it's not. You know, again, rebounds no problem. Got a good hard rebound to it there. In this case right here, something is grabbing that. So I'm going to have to get in there and kind of look at it.
Alright, ready for next question. This comes from Ken 1911, and I'm going to pause right here. You carried a 1911 for a long time.
Yeah, I still do, as a matter of fact, most of the time.
I thought you switched to Glock.
Well, you know, I carry a little bit of everything, but yeah, the 1911 was my choice gun to carry. Of course, in the summertime, it's kind of hard to hide that, and I don't like people knowing I got one on me. You know, it makes people nervous, so I just kind of like to keep it hid, but that's really a good gun to carry, you know.
That wasn't part of this. I just remember he carried a 1911
Yeah.
for years and
That's
years and
right.
years since I've known him. So Ken, 1911, here's your question. Hi Scotty, I have a 1933 5-inch Colt new service revolver in 38 special. It has the stiffest double action trigger pull I've ever seen. Single action, not so bad. Is there a way to lighten the double action trigger pull? Thank you, Ken.
Let's see, that being an old gun like that, I don't know off the top of my head if there's a aftermarket trigger kit you could get for that. In a situation, if I couldn't get that aftermarket trigger kit, I'd probably use what we have there. And basically, it would just boil down to taking it apart and maybe stoning some of the parts, you know, just basically polishing up everything in there, checking the sear on the hammer and trigger connect, you know, making sure that, you know, all that's still in good order and maybe smoothing it up. Yeah, this basically boils down to a lot of common sense with that one. You know, if you can't get no aftermarket parts for that, most likely you can't. Not that they're not out there, I just don't know of any.
So
that's probably,
when you mentioned stoning some parts, what does that do?
yeah, that's just a way of polishing it up. You know, polishing it in a precise way. Make sure you're looking at it under a magnifying glass or a microscope. You know, that way you can make sure everything's nice and cut even. Just basically want to polish the parts up, you know.
And what does that do for it?
Yeah, that smooths everything up. Like I said, I don't know the gun, haven't seen that gun he's talking about, so from what I'm understanding, it's just got a real stiff trigger pull. So most likely either a lighter spring or take that spring that you got in it and just kind of smooth it down, you know, by taking a little bit of the metal off. Of course, the more you take off, the weaker it's going to get, you know.
Right, right.
So you don't take too much off. So that's something you just have to, in my case, I would just take a little off, put it back together. Take a little off, put it back together until I get it to where I want it to where it's safe, you know.
And it's smooth.
Right, exactly. Just basically get in there and smooth it up, you know, in that case right there. Always try to find an aftermarket trigger kit if you can. The bad thing about an old gun like that is if you take too much metal off and it don't rebound like it's supposed to, then it's going to be hard to get another part for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Been an old
That
gun
is
like
true.
that, you
That
know,
is
so
true.
use common sense with it.
All right, here's the next question. This is from RCRTV TV. All right. Thanks, Scotty. I've been watching all your videos for years now. Thank you, sir. What would be your first choice of caliber for a modern AR rifle or AR style rifle?
Yeah. Well, that just kind of boils down to preference, I guess, what a person might want. In my case, I like a 7.62 by 39, which is the same thing an AK, you know, common AK-47 would shoot. That way you get ammunition to fit both rifles. That's my choice, you know. A lot of times people like, you know, 223. It just depends on what a person wants in that situation. They'll just have to kind of, you know, do a little bit of research and see what's best for them, I guess.
Yep, and my answer for him would be depends on your purpose.
Yeah, what you're going to use it for. If you're just going to go down and, you know, target shoot with it, you know, maybe the cheapest ammo, 7.62 by 39.
Right.
That's pretty cheap, so.
And some 223.
Yeah.
But when you get into 308 or 7.62 by 54, which is what the Nagant and all that,
Yeah.
then you're getting a little pricey, but they're really good rounds though.
Yeah, they are.
And it like I said, when I said depends on your purpose, if you're going to go hog hunting or deer hunting or moose
Right.
or elk or something, then I would get up into the 308 and maybe
For me, the 7.62 by 39 kind of covers all the bases. I mean, you know, unless you're going to shoot way out there, you know, and
Right,
it
right.
just depends on how you're going to do it, I guess.
Well, since you brought that up, I'll ask you here, and this is not on here, this is just me. Since you like that caliber, what do you think about the 300 Blackout? Because it's the same bullet, but in a...
Yeah, now that's a good round as well. I hadn't really had a lot of experience with that, really, to give a true opinion on that. But from the people I've talked to, it's a real good round. People really like it.
Our next question is from T. Hickson. How to repair a broken trigger guard on a Husqvarna double barrel?
Husqvarna double barrel. Well, that's, you can approach that animal different ways, I guess. It depends on what kind of, if it's just broke. whether it's made out of steel, you can always tack weld it back together, you know, smooth it out, you know. Of course, I have to re-blue it. If it's aluminum, I can't think of off the top of my head what it might be made out of right now, off the top of my head. If it's aluminum, you're probably going to just have to replace it or make a new one, you know, out of metal. Most likely that's made out of steel, and if it's broke, well, if it's broke, it's probably made out of aluminum because steel usually don't break in a situation like that.
Well,
I would say probably.
If it was aluminum,
Mm-hmm.
can you replace it with steel?
Yeah, you can. You probably have to make it. I don't know off the top of my head if you could order a steel one, or, you know, I don't know right now what that would be made out of, to be honest with you.
So the answer to that is depends what it's made of.
Yeah, if it's aluminum, I'd say you're probably better off replacing it, you know, with another aluminum if that's all you can get, or have one, you know, custom made out of metal and have it blued, and that way you ain't got to worry about it breaking again. But most of the ones I've ever seen that were broke were made out of aluminum.
Oh, well, that is very good. All right, next question comes from Craig Ballantyne. You've been a gunsmith for many years. How, and this is kind of a two-part, how has your business model changed? That's the first part. And what do you find to be the most in-demand service you offer? Thanks for all your knowledge and time. Let's take it first one. How has your business model changed over the years?
Well, being a gunsmith really hadn't changed too much at all, you know. You just definitely want to keep up with all, you know, the laws and things like that, obviously. The best money-making thing I've found in gunsmithing is rebluing, nickeling, and Cerakote, you know, redoing stocks and things like that. I mean, you can get into the repair jobs and stuff like that, but the only problem with that is you're going to have a lot of time in some of these guns figuring out what's wrong with it, you know, unless it's just obvious. And then good luck getting the parts nowadays. I will say that, you know, as far as change, used to be you could get parts with no problem, but now it's getting to where it's just like pulling teeth, you know, to get parts, especially for the older guns. You got to machine a lot of your parts and things like that. I kind of sort of shy away from the repair part of this, not that I won't do it, but the bluing and refurbishing of guns is, for me, where the money is. Everybody's got an old gun that belonged to granddad. Most of them's been in the closet for 30 years. And they see a video and they just want to get it fixed up, you know, in honor of granddad, and most of them make no real big hurry, which works out great for me because I'm a one-man show, and I just talk to people up front, you know, and tell them about what it might cost and how long it might take. For me, yeah, the restoring old guns is basically the best way for me, you know.
So what's the most in demand? What's the most requested service?
Because I am a refurbisher, that would be the most demand for me. You know, that's really what I advertise. The audience I focus on is the person that's got the gun that's been in the closet for 30 years, you know, because I know they ain't going to be in no real big hurry. And I talk to them before we even take the job on. That way, they'll kind of sort of know what to expect. And I always invite them, call me back, you know, if you don't hear nothing from me, you know, in a few months, whatever. And that way we're always in communication with each other, and there ain't none of this, you know, well, he's avoiding my call thing, you know. If I don't pick up, though, leave me a message and I'll call you back. That's how that works.
And that's because sometimes and this is another video, but if he's back there in the bluing thing, they've got all the fans going, or if he's machining something, there's no way you can hear the phone.
Yeah, and you know what? The phone sometimes rings all the time, which is a blessing. I'm not complaining, but I'd almost have to have me a secretary in there to answer them, you know. But that's what's so good about that recording machine, you know. They just leave me a message and I'll call them back, you know, and if I don't get a hold of them, I'll try again later. That's how that's been working, so.
Our next question is from Greg Thomas. What's the best way to deal with the Smith & Wesson MP 2.0 sights that seem to be pressed into place, and hints to make changing them easier?
Well, you know, they got these universal sight pushers and stuff like that. I just don't care for that. We can get the camera and I can show you my setup if you want to do that, kind of. All right. What I've got here is I've got kind of an illustration. We won't actually take the sight off, but I just kind of wanted to walk everybody through my procedure doing this. Of course, in this case right here, we got a pin that's going through it down to the slide. First thing we do is take that little roll pin out of that. I think the M&P doesn't have that. Anyway, what I do is I've got a solid vise here. Let me kind of show you the layout here. Basically, it's just a good stout vise. I use this for bending bolts on Mausers and stuff like that. But I've got these little pieces of metal that fit in there with a hard plastic piece there, you know, so we won't mar the slide up. And you just basically fit your slide in there, making sure it's the plastic's touching it, and put it right here on the end. And what I do is I just kind of, in this case right here, I would take and we'll go over here and I'll show you the brass drifts I would use in a case like this.
And before he does, off camera, he asking the question, so I might as well throw it in here. Make sure that the vise does not move at all.
That's a good point. Now the reason why I like this big heavy table right here is because, man, I'll tell you what, you can hit that with a sledgehammer and you ain't got no springiness to it. If you got any kind of springiness to your vise at all, that's going to take away from the impact, I guess. Then you're going to have to really hammer it and all that. You don't want to do that. You want a good, solid, firm hit, a controlled, firm hit.
With no give.
Yeah, with no give, no springiness to it. And that right there, and you don't want to just torque that down so tight that you break your slide. You know, just a good firm, you know, good firmness to it there is all you got to do. And I'll go over here and we'll show the different things that I use to do this. Alright, here we are over here at the little tool drawer system. And what I do is I got a little kit set up here. The changing of the sights here, I've got several drawers here set up with different things depending on the situation. That right there would be for a like for instance a Tragicon. You know, you don't want to crush it whenever you're, if it isn't a dovetail, you just want to, like on a 1911, you'll want to set that down in there, and that sits down in a vise, and that's another video. But it just takes different kind of sight pushers for different kind of guns. In this case here, for the M&P, I would use a brass drift, something like that right there. That right there would be more or less for the back sight. And so what I would do is I would come over here, and I got this wheel right here, and in this case right here, I would just take and look at the dovetail, and there's always going to be a little, right there, you know, it's a little stop right there. You can see my fingernail bend down. And basically what you want to do is you just want to kind of grind your brass drift. Well, you got a nice little flat area there. Making sure it's almost as wide as that dovetail there. And then what you do is get your little hammer. It's all common sense. You know, a lot of times people say go from left to right, right to left, you know. And what I do is I just kind of look at it. And obviously if it's fatter on this end, then that end right there, you wouldn't want to drive the fat end through, if that makes any sense. You want to go with the skinny end, drive it through. Like I said, I'm not going to knock this out. I just kind of wanted to show how I do that. Make sure it's good and firmly clamped down, about an inch from the end there.
So and for simple folk like me, is you drive it toward the skinny end.
Yeah, that's right. Drive it toward the skinny end. You can see how that right there. And like I said, I then just kind of tap on it until it starts moving. That's the best thing to do. Sometimes you got to really hit it hard, you know, but you don't have to worry about that springing on you or anything. And that's kind of how I would approach any of the sight changing jobs I have. And then with the back sight, kind of the same principle. Kind of look at it, find the thick end, you know, and then just kind of put it in like that right there, making sure that you know, you don't crush it. Then just go with a wider dovetail thing, grind it down to fit, you know. Make sure that little Allen screw's backed out if it's got an Allen screw in it. And then just kind of put it in like that right there and make sure it's good and flat. Always start out with a brass. Then just kind of tap the heck out of it until she starts moving. Some of these guns, you know, if they're Series 80, this right here is a Series 70, but the Series 80 has a little button under there and it's got a little spring under that. So you want to kind of, you know your gun before you start taking the sight off, obviously, because you don't want to damage it.
Do you know if the M&P has like an Allen key in it, or
You know, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'm thinking it does.
yeah, a set screw. That's
I'm
okay.
thinking it does, but I ain't real sure. You just kind of have to do a little research on each gun that you're going to be, you know, changing sights on. Just want to make sure that you don't damage that little spring under there if it's got that little button, you know, under there. Now I do have, you can see right here, I've got some sight pushers. There's one there for the Colt 1911, the blue one there, and then we got one for the Beretta, and I think another one there's for a Beretta Cougar. And I've used them every now and then, but truthfully, I just don't have the confidence in them as I do the old Vice and Brass Drift, you know, for me. So I just kind of want to point that out. I do have some of those. Instead of spending all that money on all these different pushers that sometimes don't work, I know what'll work every time, and it takes a little bit of the risk out by using that Vice system there, you know. Well, a regular Vice like this right here, I wouldn't use this one because it's got springiness to it. You know, when you hit that, everything rattles up here and moves. That right there, it don't though. And like I said, I've been boat handles with that, and so I know that it's worthy of doing what I want to do when it comes to changing sights without damaging. And when you do change a sight, if you're going to put some sights on there, you want to make sure that you've got some of these sight files, dovetail files. I get mine from Brownells, and what that is you just got the cutting edge right here, and then you got two smooth sides. And you just got to find out which one fits your sight, and always on the front of the sights, whether it be the back or the front, you can fit that by taking a little of the metal off. You don't want to take too much of it off, but you always have to fit most of them. You know, a lot of times people think, oh, they'll just drift right in. They'll hammer the heck out of it, and then next thing you know, it looks like the end of a wedge or something. You know, you've been hit with a hammer.
Then they call you and send it to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, you know, so you definitely got to use a lot of, you know, common sense with that. You know, I've made the dove files before by taking and grinding two sides down smooth, you know, so where they won't cut. That way you just got the one cutting edge. But yeah, you can get them from Brownells. You know, some of them I'm modified. There's one I'm modified, you know, for something I did. But anyway, I got it in case I ever need it again. But yeah, there's a lot of out of the box thinking goes on around here. So that's how I would do the
And
the
if you
sight.
guys have never watched Scott hand fit pieces on a firearm before, you should really watch some of those videos because it's an art in and of itself.
All right, our next question comes from Kenneth Johnson for you. Hey Scotty, thanks for all your videos. You've been an inspiration to me to be a gunsmith. I just opened my gun shop in Alabama. We're in Tennessee, so I don't know about that. Just
Go Bama, come on.
Just wanted you to know, who is your main go-to for gun parts? I use Numeric, but sometimes parts are out of stock and then I'm hours searching elsewhere. Thank you, Papa Ralph's Gunworks. There you go.
Yeah, it used to be Numerous was the go-to place. It seems to me like every time I try to work from them, they don't have what I need. And that's just kind of the way it is nowadays everywhere. It seems like it's just hard to get parts. We'll go in the office here and I'll show you some of the catalogs I have, you know, and that way, you know, you'll have the number. You can just look at the video and get the number off of them. Numerous, Jack First, Brownells, you know, they sell a lot of the newer parts. But yeah, I can kind of show you the catalogs and we can kind of go over that.
All right, you're going to get a sneak peek. Let's go.
All right, here we are in the office. I thought I'd throw a few tool books in this as well, where I get a lot of my supplies and tools. This right here's a really good catalog. Industrial supplies, wholesalers. This is a catalog they sent me because they got a website, you know, and I don't know, I'm kind of from the old school. I'd rather have a catalog, you know, and it's got reamers in here, sandpaper, drill bits, you know, anything that you'd need, you know, for machine work, grinders and stuff. They're a real good, reliable company. Never had no problems with these people at all. This here's a pretty good little catalog, you know, for bubble wrap and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as gun parts, as far as getting parts and stuff like that, this here's a really good company. Jack First, and of course there's their phone number there, you know, and I've had these catalogs for decades. Got two of them. That's a good place to get them. Of course he knows about Numerich. I've got a bunch of numerage catalogs. That's a really good place. You know, like I said, sometimes if a numerage don't have it, I'll go to Jack first, and they'll usually have it. Of course, Brunel's, the books up there, you can see them, and usually for black powder parts, I usually go to Dixie Gun Works. You know, they're a really good supplier, and all kind of black powder parts and stuff like that. Like I said, you really don't need these catalogs. You probably just get them all, pull them up on their website and order the parts that way. I think that's what they'd rather you do nowadays. But I don't know, I'm kind of from the old school. I just rather talk to somebody, you know, and place my order that way. But I am getting a little bit to the point to where I'm using the computer more. I tell you, here lately, I've been getting a lot of my parts off of eBay. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, man, they seem like they got about anything you might need every time I order, you know, a part. eBay, maybe Amazon, but eBay seems like the go-to place nowadays for gun parts. So.
Yeah, but just to show you guys how old school he really is, there is no computer in his office.
Now I got a smartphone in there now, so got a monitor. But yeah.
This is the next question. Since we're here, we're going to throw it in at the same time, get a 2-for-1. How's that?
A twofer, yeah.
This is from Hua Extreme. Okay, if I pronounced that right. If I didn't, sorry. Scott, if you could only have one gunsmith book, what would it be?
Gunsmith book. Do you reckon they're talking about a parts manual, or do you reckon they're talking about a supplier? We'll just go over both of them. Huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I tell you, of course, Brunel's, I guess, would be my supply book, because they seem to have everything I'll ever need, you know, and they usually have it in stock most of the time. Here lately, you know, I don't know, maybe it's the times we're in, sometimes it's been hard to get a few things, but Brunel's would probably be the #1 go-to book. Like I said, you can get a lot of the new parts from Brunel's most of the time. So yeah, Brunel's would probably be the #1 book. You know, as far as educational books, you know, we got this right here. This is an old book here, you know, Encyclopedia of Modern Firearms. And it's got a lot of the older guns in there and stuff like that, you know. It's a hardback version. I think I ordered that from Brunel's as well.
Have your magnifying glasses ready for that, because that's an eye chart.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you know, any of these manual books like this right here, you know, is a good book, you know, to have diagrams in them and stuff. As far as ordering parts and information, I'd say probably eBay here nowadays. You know, it's a good place to order parts. You know, Brunel sells this book right here, Gunsmith Kinks. Got a lot of good tips in that, you know, just different things. And it comes in a 3-volume series, I guess, 3 books. 4 books, I'm sorry, I only got 3 of them. Here's another thing too. Let me see, shine the camera down here. Yeah, this right here. This is the American Gunsmith flyer they send out, you know, and I'm subscribed to that, and it's got a bunch of tips in there and, you know, things like that of different guns. You can see how I've got quite a collection here built up. That's what all that right there is. I need to put them in some kind of binder, but I've tried that before, and it seems to me the best way to use this is to just kind of like a Rolodex, I guess.
I could totally see how this would be much more efficient than the search engine on a computer.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but I'll be honest with you, most of the time when I need a part or need a question answered about a certain gun, I usually don't have it. So that's the way that's been working. But I mean, I've got several of these right here, but they got a lot of good tips in there. So yeah, the American Gunsmith Institute, I believe is what it is, or just American Gunsmith. Yeah, they send this one of these out every month. You gotta pay them, you know, subscribe to them, but it's got a lot of good tips in there, different things, different jobs, you know, different tool setups. I've been subscribed to them for years. And of course, nowadays you got to get this on the internet, but Brunel's used to send these right here out every month, and you know, it's a newsletter, and it's just gives you tips on how to make certain tools and things like that. I think you can still get this. I think though you got to look on the website to get it now and download it and all that.
I think we should, since this is for the viewers, I think the viewers should start a petition, have them subscribe
Yeah.
to you rather than you
Yeah,
subscribe to
'cause I've
them.
got plenty of. Hopefully I'll have the information more than sometimes when I need it. I don't have it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, when you subscribe to them, you kind of get just different things, you know. And I got stuff here, you know, from golly. This is from Herschel Gallagher. I don't know if everybody ever heard of him or not, but he had a gun shop in Ashland City, and this is kind of a spin-off from his place. There's some information from 1977, you know, so I got a bunch of old stuff, you know, that information that's kind of hard to get a hold of nowadays.
That's simply called a tome of ancient knowledge. is what
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
one of the, I guess that's one of the good things about getting old. You require a bunch of stuff, you know. And I got plenty of it, you know. I need to get a bigger office. But, and of course we got, you know, AGI, Gunsmith Institute videos. Of course these are the VCRs. That's how old. And I do have a VCR here too. And of course I've switched over to DVDs. You know, just different things. You know, that's always good to have them around. You know, to look at. Of course you can, I think, pull them up on your computer now. But
I was afraid if you dug any further, we'd go back to Pharaoh's ancient tombs.
I know.
I'm
That's
telling you,
one of the stuff in there,
I'm thinking
stuff I've-
stone tablets in here
yeah, like
somewhere.
I've been doing this for quite some time. You
Yeah,
know,
this
so.
is absolutely the wizard's library that we're looking
Yeah.
into here. I mean,
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of a mess in here. I apologize for that, but yeah, I need to get down here and have a good cleaning day, I guess. But anyway, I know where everything's at, so I guess that's the main
That's all that
thing. Since I'm
matters,
the only
yeah.
employee here, so.
All right, our next question comes from Sailor Tom. That's an interesting name,
Sailor
Sailor
Tom.
Tom. And Sailor Tom asks, best product or best way to home blue a rifle and how to remove the old finish and rust when there's no sand bead blasting available.
that's a good question.
Yeah, it is. The way I do it is I just polish all the bluing off. You know, everybody's seen the videos where I just kind of, you know, block sand things and things like that. You know, and obviously it's going to take the bluing off when you do that. I guess if you're at the house and, you know, you don't have a lot of equipment, they say vinegar will remove it'll remove the bluing. You know,
Really?
yeah, vinegar. I've heard that. I've never tried it, but I've heard that. I guess the best way to remove bluing is muriatic acid. Of course, you want to make sure you wear all the safety equipment, your eye protection, and all that. Whatever you do, you know, with that stuff.
And you can get that from Brownells, right?
muriatic acid.
Yeah.
You can get that at Lowe's.
Okay.
Or any
Fair
of those.
enough. Oh, yeah,
hardware
absolutely. That
stores.
makes sense,
you
yeah.
know,
Hold on,
muriatic
I'm going
acid.
to pause this for a second. Hold on, not pause that, but vinegar. All right, I do know this because I just did it 2 weeks ago. Right, had a gas tank in a vehicle that the rust and everything in it was causing it the fuel filter to clog up and
Yeah.
wasn't getting fuel. And I was told to, when you take the gas tank out, drain it and all that good stuff, plug it up, put vinegar in it with BBs, regular old
Yeah.
BBs, and slosh it around the BBs, kind of like acts like
Abrasive.
abrasive sandpaper
Yeah.
or whatever. But the vinegar actually helps remove the rust.
I got you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So and it worked really well. And it was actually the gas tank of the video of the vehicle you saw in the intro. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah.
So there you go. The vinegar,
Yeah.
it does for
That'd
gas
probably be
tanks.
the safest way to go right there, I would think. You know, just even with vinegar, you know, make sure you got some eye protection in and all that. You know, never wrong to be too safe. You know, when it comes into that stuff. I just never used any of that stuff. Even in the early days, I would get these kits. You know, it had blue-in remover in it. You know, I don't know what it was made out of. I never really researched it, but I'd say the vinegar would probably be your safest, best bet.
And if all else fails, like in the vehicle world, I don't know about gunsmithing, but in the vehicle world, you always try the least expensive
Yeah.
option first, and then move up to your more expensive.
Even with the vinegar, you want to make sure you keep an eye on your gun. You know, it probably will take that bluing off and rust and all, but it will also, I know the muriatic acid will, and I'm sure the vinegar will
Yeah.
too. It'll pit if you ain't careful.
Yes, yes.
So you don't want to leave it in there too long. You want to keep an eye on it, that's for sure. You know, don't want your metal pitting, you know. So
Right.
I know the muriatic acid will pit it,
you know, if you leave it
real
long enough.
quick,
So,
because I know I've seen them use muriatic acid to clean brick and concrete
yeah,
with.
that's really what it's for, you know, mortar and stuff like that. But anyway,
All right, and last question. We promise we're going to answer it, but not in this video, and I'll explain. This is from Doorman13K. I enjoy your videos and have seen the basis layout of your shop. I'm a gunsmith tool junkie. So, would a more detailed look of the shop be possible? Or look at some of the specialty tools or shop-made equipment? And here's what we're going to do. Rather than answer this, we've agreed to make a special video just to answer that question.
Yeah, especially considering you only have 5
Well,
minutes of battery left on this thing.
that'd be
So-
best.
That's going to be another video coming soon of the whole place. We did a little bit of the files when we did the site removal,
Yeah.
but yes, that is a separate video coming just for that question. So yes, we're going to answer it. Stay tuned for that video because your questions have been answered on the Po' Boy Special channel.
And I appreciate everybody watching the videos. Again, you know, we'll make a separate video where I can kind of go into more detail about each individual thing that we have here. Maybe not everything, but maybe highlight, you know, some of the things. That way we can make sure we answer the question and kind of explain how it works like we did on the site
Right.
portion of this video here. You know, I just want to make sure we don't leave anything out, and I'm sure I will. That's why everybody can call me, you know, and I can answer the question. Again, leave a message if I don't pick up. But, you know, like all the other videos, I appreciate everybody watching the videos.
All right, we appreciate you viewers. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate his time answering them from you.